Hello again, and this is our last segment of the author chats with Marilyn Atterbury coming up very soon. And this has been so delightful to have one-on-one time with each of the authors and to celebrate their amazing achievement. They have worked so hard over the course of 12 weeks with both Mila and myself to get their stories onto paper and to work with our fantastic editor, Mariah Miller, to put it into KDP so that it's available tomorrow. Tomorrow, the live link is going up on Amazon and everybody can order these stories, the stories of us. And so we're so thrilled, but it's been just incredible to sit down and to take a peek inside the photo album and to hear about, the members that they were talking about in the story. So we've been able to cherish these family photos and to give tribute to the stories of us. And so I'm so pleased to conduct these author chats so all of you can get a preview of what this collection of stories is all about and to hear more about each of our authors. So if you're watching this, thank you so much for your stamina and keeping up with all the excitement and activity. We do want you to join our Facebook group. It's a public Facebook group. So go ahead on over and type in Stories of Us Authors. That's where you can keep the conversation going and also be part of our live Zoom celebration happening very soon, tomorrow during the winter solstice, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So definitely something that you want to be a part of. And we're going to go ahead and get started today. We're going to be talking about lessons learned or secrets of the Mennonite culture and what it means to grow up in that culture. And Marilyn Atterbury shares a very heartwarming, heartfelt story about the lessons that she's carried just from that. And so if you've not heard of the Mennonite religion before, stay tuned and find out. I myself am not familiar with it. And so really interested to hear what Marilyn shares. So she is our favorite youthful octogenarian, living life, a licensed avatar coach as well. And she and her husband that we just had on earlier, Warren Atterbury, they have an amazing coaching practice, boomers to bloomers. And so thrilled that we get to sit down and talk to Marilyn Atterbury. So please, everyone, welcome Marilyn. Yay! And you're looking so festive. Thank you so much for dressing up.
Well, this is the time of year when everyone's allowed to sparkle to the nth degree, and I love to sparkle, so I'm sparkling.
That's indeed. You sparkle from inside out anyway, Marilyn.
Thank you.
So I'm wondering, Mennonite, because it's not something I'm very familiar with. And I've heard of Amish. So I'm wondering if Amish and Mennonite are similar or different. And were you allowed to be sparkly if you were a Mennonite?
Well, and they're very similar. Yes. Then I'm not sure which denomination was founded first, but the Mennonites were in about the 16th century. My brother is a genealogist, and he's traced my family back to the 1570s, I believe it is. And we moved all over Europe. We were really in what's the Ukraine right now is pretty much, or Poland is pretty much where our roots are. And because we're pacifists, did not believe in going to war, bearing any arms, and believed in a very literal translation of the Bible. And as different people became in power in Europe, the Mennonites and the Amish both were quite persecuted and sometimes tortured and killed. And so my lineage just moved around wherever it was safer, wherever it could be safe. And it really turned out that Poland and the Ukraine were a place where we were safer than any other place in Europe. And so Prussia was also a safe place. And so two of my great grandparents came over from Prussia at the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th. And my maternal grandfather also did. My maternal grandfather and grandmother were all born here in Kansas. but their parents came over from Prussia as well. So that's where I would say that my roots really are from. And the Mennonites, most people who know about the Mennonites know about them in Pennsylvania, because there's a really, really huge community of them over there. But all four of my great grandparents came across to Central California during the Depression. And let's see, there were 5 churches that were in the about 100-mile radius of each other. And I was born in Bakersfield, California, right in the middle of it.
And I love how in your chapter you distilled some of the lessons that you've learned. What's one lesson that really stood out? Because we can't give away the book. You got to read the book to get to Marilyn's list. But, what is one lesson that has really stood the test of time for you?
I believe it is to be honest, to have compassion, to be true to yourself, to honor. In the Mennonite religion, God was this wonderful being up in the sky that created the earth. Since then, God has meant a lot of different things to different people. But for me, whatever God is to you, to honor that. It might be the universe. It might be Buddha. It might be Ali. It could be anybody. So, but to honor that there is a connection with the divine, and to live an upright life with integrity and peace on earth, goodwill towards men and women and children and animals, all of them.
I like that, Marilyn, what you said just now about, whatever God is to you, then honor that. I think that's amazing. Yep. And inclusive, because we all have different faiths and different experiences.
Well, that's one thing I really love about my present time profession, which is as an avatar master, because we have every religion, including agnostic and atheist, come on course and be equally welcome. And we have no belief system that we teach people. We just teach people to explore their beliefs and find those that are getting in the way of them having their dreams of happiness and love and fortune, if they want fortune, travel, whatever they want, that they can create it for themselves. So we don't teach people we teach people how to find their beliefs, but we don't teach them how to live their life.
So from writing, what are some new beliefs that you got to explore?
Could you say that again?
From this writing experience, because you've done both Cinderella monologues and now the stories of us. So are there some new beliefs that emerge or allowed you to explore some new beliefs?
Oh, what I really loved about this one was that I discovered how great my father is. I grew up afraid of my father. He worked really hard, so he wasn't home a lot. And he wasn't a really cuddly kind of guy. He was very determined that we were godly children. Some of my earliest memories are, one of the things in my story is being taken out of church because I was wiggling and I wanted to get up and I wanted to play. And I would whisper too loud and I would kick the bench in front of me and the people would turn around and look at me. And my dad would carry me outside, paddle me on the bottom. He just definitely believed in that if you wanted to spoil your child, then don't spank. But, spare the rod, spoil the child. And I had a belief growing up that I had a spanking at least every day, at least one a day. And I know that's exaggeration right now, but that's how it felt. And I was kind of scared of my dad. And I don't think I ever said no to my dad. But as I began to relive my memories, one of my most fun experiences that you'll have to read my chapter to find out about was with him and my grandfather. And I was only 3 years old. And before that, I can remember him. Another one of the stories, it was about he introduced me to the telephone in a really fun way. And I didn't put a lot of this in the book, but all of a sudden I began to remember when we would go camping and he would put a life jacket on me because I wasn't that great of a swimmer. We'd go out in the middle of Bass Lake and maybe spend an hour and a half or two there just talking and connecting. And I remember one time in high school when one of my girlfriend's boyfriends drove me home from an event and he tried to kiss me when it was time to say goodnight, and I was crushed. And I came in and I went into my parents' room. They were in bed already, and I was crying. And I said, I can't believe it. I don't know what to do. I don't even know if I'd been kissed yet by anybody, well, except my parents. And my mom and dad were in bed. They were both awake. And they said, well, what happened? And I told them, and my dad just tenderly told me, that's part of growing up, and boys usually make the first move, and you have to determine how far you want them to go. But remember, what it says in the Bible, you don't have sex before you're married because that's a sin, but just the way he talked about it, he was just so sweet. And so I know that in my next book, which is going to be a memoir, and it's going to incorporate what I've written for this book, and it's going to incorporate what I wrote in Cinderella Monologues as well, and the rest of my life. I'm going to take a lot of time in it, really, really acknowledging that my dad loved me so much that he was determined that I would live a happy, righteous life. And by and large, although his terms aren't the same as my terms, I think he got what he wanted. I think he would be proud of me if he were still alive.
I think so too, Marilyn. Oh my gosh, yeah. And it's in the reflecting and writing that we can, recognize, right? Our parents doing the best they could for us.
Yeah. And I also really got that, in a way, I'm still a Mennonite at heart because I'm still teaching peace on earth, goodwill towards humanity. I'm still teaching people compassion. I'm teaching people the tools to find the beliefs that nurture themselves and the earth. And I got a really great foundation. I just kind of evolved with the times. And I love that. Because basically that is my purpose, to create a world that works for everyone, as Bucky Fuller so aptly taught me at a seminar one summer.
Yes, you are a Mennonite at heart, right? I think it's had an incredible impact on who you are today.
Yeah.
And anything that you do, you've learned to adapt it and create a new approach. So I love that, Marilyn. That makes me want to call my dad. As stern as he was, I mean, I really feel like he was a protector of sorts. And so I feel like I need to call my dad too.
Oh, good. Please do. I will tell you one thing, that my dad was sick towards the last 2 years of his life or so. And he was in a place in Fresno, and I would go there maybe, every 3 months or so to spend some time with him. And he really wanted to die. He used to say, if it weren't a sin to do suicide, I'd call Kevorkian in right here this minute, because he wanted to go be in heaven with my mom. And So anyway, we went there and visited, and he was particularly crotchety that day. And so anyway, Warren and I decided it was time for us to leave. And we were at the door, and my dad says, Marilyn? And I says, yes. And he says, come over here. And I did. And he took my hand and he says, I want you to know that I am glad that you are happy in your work. And that was amazing. And about 3 days later, my brother called me and said that he had passed. And I really think that one thing that kept him alive that long was that he wanted to let me know that he was glad that I was doing my work, even though he didn't really feel that it was God-driven. He didn't get that, but he acknowledged that I was doing good work.
That must have been such total validation to hear that. Wow.
It was amazing.
So cool, Marilyn. Well, I want to give a shout out. I mean, we've got Robinette, our fellow co-author of Stories of Us Watching, and she is complimenting you. You're looking so beautiful. So
Thank you, Robinette.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Mila is also watching from YouTube.
Hi, Mila.
And this is what she writes. She writes, it's a great story. I got my curiosity about the Mennonites quenched. It's very interesting and it's like being a fly on the wall. And I love what you said about just the peace and peace on earth for all humanity.
Yes.
Making this a safe place and welcome place for everyone.
Yes.
Through the Mennonite traditions. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. And speaking of your father, so I know that I asked for pictures and you had mentioned that like at some point in time you went through this whole letting go and burned all the pictures. What was that all about?
Well, I had my own personal development company before I started being an avatar master. It was called the Sage Experience, and it was wonderful for 17 years. I loved it a lot. I loved everyone that was there. We had a wonderful, wonderful time. And one day, you know, it was very much like Avatar, only it was more of a belief system than it was teaching tools. I mean, we taught tools, but it was still, I wanted people to become aware and believe. And we don't do that in Avatar. You know, you learn the tools to get what you believe and what you want to believe. But anyway, we had a ceremony in one of the graduate seminars where we actually did firewalking. I'm also a firewalk or accredited firewalk teacher, although I haven't done it for 30 years now. But we'd have a firewalk, and then after the firework, people would like burn a picture or burn something, burn a note, burn anything that was a symbol of their past. And during one of the last ones of those, Warren and I happened to separate for a year. We saw a lot of differences. And so we decided, we didn't mention the word divorce, but he went to the East Coast to help his son create a business. And I stayed on the West Coast and delivered the Sage Experience. And so one afternoon, I was just alone and I was thinking of our relationship and those things in the past that I hadn't forgiven yet and all of that kind of stuff. And I just had a whole bunch of pictures and I decided that I would symbolically burn those pictures as a symbol of letting go of the past. I only kept a few, and I think you have those few too. They're in a frame. I had them framed, just the few that I kept. But by and large, my childhood and a lot of my early marriage pictures to both of my husbands, and I kept a lot of my little children's pictures, but if I was in them or I had any charge on them, I just burned them. So I didn't have a lot to turn in.
No worries, Marilyn. But you did managed to salvage some, and I'm happy.
Last minute, yes.
Thank goodness that we have them, because I think it adds such richness to this interview and to your story. And we found one of your dad, so I'm going to pull it up right now. And I snuck in a picture too, a more modern picture too.
Yeah, that's my wonderful dad. That's probably, oh, let's say he was probably maybe even in his 80s or 90s. He died it was 1 month short of 96. So longevity runs in the family. And then that's me at 3 years old. That's the age when I went on this wonderful ride that kind of set the tone for the rest of my life. And you can read about that in the book. And then this is my daughter, Cheryl, and myself on the left.
I love this picture of you and Cheryl. That's why I had to include it.
I am surprised because I don't know where you got it.
I'm a sleuth by night.
I see.
I love this picture. Like, oh my gosh, you look so innocent at 3 years old. And
yeah, I had strawberry blonde hair at that time. And green eyes. I still have those. And I think I have a little bit of the innocence, but can't you also see that she has a mind of her own and likes the sparkle and likes attention? And
well, I think it's so uncanny. You're folding your hands or clapping your hands in such a way. It's like determined, like we're doing this.
yes.
Such a wonderful pose. So wonderful. And I love this picture of your dad. He looks very stately.
He was
respectable.
He spent his retirement after my mother died, traveling all over the world, and he saw just every place. And he also was a scuba diver. He went to every major reef. He's a photographer. He took underwater pictures, and he would go and take slides and movies in every one of the mission complexes in Europe and in Asia and in South America. And then he would come back and he would travel all over the United States, going to the Mennonite Brethren churches, showing the churches the slides and the movies that he had taken of their missionaries.
You know, we just gone off the interview with Warren talking about, we are service people and being in service. And, it's no wonder that you two are attracted to each other, because that was very much part of, your upbringing as well.
Very much service. My mother and dad really wanted me to marry a minister or a missionary. And I go over that in my chapter. How I wiggled out of that one.
And look at this next set of photos here.
That's me.
They're all of you.
Yeah, they're all me. I think this one in the bottom right corner was my 6-month picture. And I started walking at 10 months. So the others were probably 10 months, a year, something like that. I couldn't bear to part with them. I wasn't going to burn them.
No. I mean, you were quite rambunctious, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. That's what led to a lot of the spankings, especially when it was in church. We went to the World's Fair in 1940 on Treasure Island, and my dad finally put a harness on me because I kept running all over the place. It was so exciting.
I'm so glad you sent these to me. And here's our last segment.
Yeah, there I am, probably around kindergarten age. And oh, this one here, this was my very best friend, Judy. Our mothers were pregnant together, and our parents met every Friday night and played rook cards, because playing cards were against the religion, but you could play rook. And so we grew up in the same playpen, and every Friday we would play, and we both loved the idea of becoming actresses. And so we would put on plays, and we loved playing wedding, and we took turns being the bride, and we had curtains and sheets that we would have long trains and everything. And she is mentioned in my chapter in the book at the end. We kept a lifelong promise to, as soon as I was out of college, that we were going to be roommates in a big city, and I was going to become a newspaper reporter, and that came true. When I listened to Mila's story, she says about making dreams come true. Absolutely. A lot of my dreams have come true. And then this is my dad and mom and me and Alan. He's my brother who did all of the genealogy research. And he also used to be the head of the social welfare department for Fresno County. So he's very much into service as well. One of my other brothers he's a retired coach and high school teacher in Reading. And my other brother is also retired, and he was an inhalation therapist for many, many years in operating rooms.
I love this photo of you and with a pet.
Yeah. I never had pets. Well, I think there was a lion there. Maybe they're stuffed animals. I don't know. But I didn't have a pet that young as a child. I had to be old enough to take care of it before I was allowed to have one.
Okay. It looked like a furry cat to me. Maybe it's the neighbors.
It could be because I did love animals. All of my grandkids have had animals. They still do. One of them, Pepper, is going to come to my house on the 23rd of December to spend Christmas with us.
How many grandkids do you have?
I have 3 granddaughters, and all 3 of them I did get, 2 of them are married right now. One of them is no longer married, and she has a son that just turned 15. And then my next oldest is 3. He just turned 3 in August, and he's the son of my second granddaughter. And then my third granddaughter just got married in April, and she's definitely of a mind that she wants a baby as soon as possible. So we're supporting her on that. And that's what I love about the legacy, because at my next birthday, I'll be 3 years away from 90. So I'm getting up there, but I'm really healthy, as you can all tell. And I want to definitely leave a legacy to them while I'm still alive, in my own words, about a lot of, the things that are even in the chapters that I wrote in Cinderella Monologues and in the Stories of Us. They don't know a lot of that. In fact, in Cinderella Monologues, it was about a hitchhiking trip I took. And when my daughter read that, she goes, "Mom, I didn't know you went hitchhiking." I says, "Well, I couldn't tell you." And she goes, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I didn't want you to do hitchhiking."
That was Cheryl, right? That was for Cheryl?
Yeah, that was Cheryl. So she just found out about it, 3 months ago, whenever the book came out.
I remember meeting Cheryl during our Cinderella Monologue launch, and she was so surprised to read about you. But that's what Mila says. Mila says we write these stories. We write our memoirs so our children can know that we were young once and that we had a whole life before them. So I think it's wonderful. Yes, here's Mila echoing that same sentiment.
That's why, yes. And I'm so happy to be with a bunch of women in this 12-week course that we took. That's what I really loved about this too, because we also learned to publish, because I have a book ready to publish. And so that's why I kind of dragged Warren in, because he's the techie in the family. I'm the writer, He's the techie. But he can write too, he discovered. So we got two writers. So anyway, 12 weeks of learning, not only me having time to write, but to learn to use the templates and to learn how to deal with publishers and all of the ins and outs of marketing, not all of the ins and outs, but some beginning of marketing. It was really a wonderful 12-week course. And if there's anybody out there who is watching this and wants to write and publish, connect with Mila, do her pen to publish. It's 12 weeks and you really do learn a lot.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you for that plug. I think she really appreciates it because it's a course unlike any other, and she really does a remarkable job in guiding us through everything. So
yes, she does.
And Mila is someone that keeps learning. I mean, I feel like every course is different because we learn so much from her. Because she keeps learning.
It was such a stroke of grace that I met her. And then I met you. And then I met Mariah, and I found out that Mariah and I have a really good friend in common, which is really nice. And I just loved meeting all the other women. There were 21 other women in Cinderella, and I think there's something like 6 of us, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. We had a much more intimate group than Cinderella, but because we're all together for 12 weeks, we got to know each other really well, too. So a little bit different than Cinderella.
Yeah.
I know how much you love your grandkids, and we've got something to pay tribute to them. So I'm going to bring that up now for you to talk about. So give me one moment. So what are we looking at here, Marilyn?
This is the masterpiece of my now 3-year-old great-grandson, Anakin, named after Star Wars Anakin. And this was my birthday gift on my 86th birthday. And he's a very creative young man. He's very active and running around and expressive. And he's carrying on, I think, that part of the legacy that has driven me to have a really wonderful life. And I love this. I have it framed in my bedroom.
I think he's gonna. I think Anakin will love the cover of our book because it's all about the paint splashes. So I think he will recognize it.
He will. He will.
This is amazing. I'm so glad you have this framed. And then there's another piece here.
Yeah, this is a special Christmas from Wesley, who I believe was probably in kindergarten when he drew this. He could have even been younger, and I love it. And I have it framed, and it's very precious. And he just turned 15. This is the 20th. Yeah, he turned 15 2 days ago. And his dream is to become an animator and to make wonderful animated films for Hollywood or wherever they're making animated films. And I believe he has a lot of talent and can do it.
He could be a Pixar animation artist.
Indeed, yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Well, Wesley, we knew you when you submitted this.
Indeed.
Oh, how wonderful that you kept it for him.
And I also want to mention that the necklace that I'm wearing is to honor my mother. I had the picture for my dad, that for my great-grandsons, and this my dad gave my mother on their 20th wedding anniversary, and we gave him a bad time because it's called Aurora Borealis crystal. And I did some research and found out that crystal is supposed to be the 15th wedding anniversary. And he says, oh, well, he says, I just thought I'd make her wait a while. That was kind of like my dad. So I want to pay tribute to both my parents and then my great-grandchildren. And I expect to have more. I'm looking forward to more great-grandkids.
That's why we need you healthy and vital and vivacious, right? To welcome and
Indeed.
greet them and pass on your wisdom and legacy. Oh, Marilyn, it's been such a joy to sit down with you for this conversation. Thank you so much for your time and for submitting all these wonderful pictures. I really love them.
Well, thank you for the opportunity and for all you have taught me and that Mila has taught me. And this has been a very, very wonderful year for me in bringing forth dreams that I've had forever. The book that I have ready to publish, I wrote it 50 years ago. And so finally I'm getting around to publishing it.
We can't wait to see your masterpiece. So we'll have to do a special launch just for that. That's wonderful, Marilyn. Well, it's like we gotta take those dreams off the shelf sometimes and dust them off.
Indeed. And we'll see you tomorrow with everybody else that's joining us for the launch. I'm excited.
Yes, so tomorrow, right on the winter solstice, it's going to be an amazing celebration. We invite you to join our public Facebook group. The link is on the screen. And just mark your calendars for 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's when we're going to be going live inside the Facebook group. And you're welcome to join us and participate. We're having some fun, amazing prizes, giveaways, wheel of names, you name it. So definitely something that you want to be a part of. And it's a fun, festive event. So bring your Christmas gear, holiday gear, Santa hats. We'd love to see it. All right. Well, thank you, Marilyn, again. And everyone, if you're curious to read more about what it means to live a roller coaster life, read Marilyn's chapter and get the book, The Stories of Us.
Thank you, Olivia.
One more comment coming through. Yes. So thank you, Mila, for putting that in the chat. It's also right here for you. So there's a Zoom link. Come and join us. All right. Have a wonderful evening, Marilyn, and we'll see you very soon.
Yes, you will. Thank you very much. It was such an honor.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.
Bye.